Hello everyone, my name is Jackie Wilson and thank you for joining in to my show that's called Let's Heal Together. On this show we're going to get into the trenches, we're going to dive deep, we're going to talk about and becoming transparent and unashamed about those strongholds that's holding us, that's keeping us bound to our past. Any type of life experience that we've dealt with, we want to be able to expose them so we can talk about it and be able to have healthy and happier lives and live fulfilling lives and not have to worry about holding on to those strongholds that have bound us. Even if we don't know that we've been holding on to them, they're coming out in different areas of our lives, even in terms of how we communicate with other people, how we move forward in our relationships, and as far as job promotions and things like this, how we communicate with family members, with neighbors, with people that we work with even business partners. These strongholds can affect our lives, and if we don't know how to deal with them, they can take over our life. And so I want to be able to help you out. Now you may be wondering, why am I so passionate about helping individuals that are dealing with strongholds? Well, let me just give you a little backstory for me. My truth is, I'm actually a survivor of domestic violence, or as I see myself, as a champion. I dealt with in my marriage. I'm out of it now. It's been 9 years since I've been divorced. But when I was in my marriage, I actually dealt with mental, emotional, psychological, spiritual, financial abuse. That's a lot to talk about, isn't it? That's a mouthful of what I just shared with you. But you know what on the flip side of that is? I didn't even know that's what I was dealing with. I was ignorant to the fact of what abuse really is, what violence really is. And so for me, I had the mindset, if it wasn't physical, if it wasn't verbal, and if it was not sexual, then it could not have been abuse. That's the only understanding that I had about domestic violence. And so boy, was I wrong to find out years later, a few years after I had gotten out of my divorce, is when I found out that I had actually experienced domestic violence. And so for me, you can only imagine what I probably was thinking. Wow, I had no idea that's what I dealt with in that marriage. But that is in fact actually what I dealt with. And so getting out of that, I learned I had to rebuild my life. I had to get myself back on track and just try to figure out how can I maneuver through this new thing called life as being single and be able to get myself back together. Because I can tell you, when I left out of that marriage, I was jacked up in my mind. My mind was just all over the place. I was so emotional. I was so sensitive about things. I was so quick to judge people about certain conversations that we had. I had my walls up. I was just like in a fortress of frustration, of anger, of fear, of hesitation, of not wanting to open up and talk to other people because of what I had experienced. So there was also a period of time when I hated men. I didn't want to have anything to do with men and didn't want to date or anything. So I was really, really in a dark place in my life at that time, getting out of that marriage and then trying to rebuild my life and not knowing what to do. So what I started doing was I had my relationship with God. I began to read, the scriptures and start meditating on some of the words that were in there, some of the scriptures that were in there that would talk about healing. And so that was important to me. And so after doing that, then I went to a conference and someone talked about listening to motivational speakers. So that was something else that I started incorporating into my life. And I was like, I had totally forgot because I used to do network marketing before. And that was some of the things that we did was listen to motivational speakers. But at that time, my mind was all over the place. I wasn't even thinking about something from my past that could really help me. So what I did was, after going to that conference, I started listening to different people like Les Brown and Lisa Nichols and, Tom Bilyeu and also Tony Robinson. I started listening to these type of people. I even started reading books in terms of Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So I wanted to be able to get out of the rut that I was in and be able to rebuild my life. So it was very, very important to me. So as I'm going through my path on my healing journey, I started to realize one thing that kept standing out. I needed to do some self-love. And everything that I was doing, depositing into me, reading these different books and, listening to YouTube channel videos in terms of motivational speakers or listening to different network marketing videos that would be on and was talking about, rebuilding yourself and, reading books and things like this that would help me to build myself back up. And so that was what I realized, that the main part of this, or as I like to call it, the meat and potatoes of it, is I needed to deposit into me. And that was what was so important. I needed to do self-love and self-care. So with knowing that, I've gone through my journey and I've learned a lot through the way. And so now what I want to do is be able to give some of that back to you all, which is why I started my channel, which is why I titled it Let's Heal Together, because I want us to be able to do that. So that's just part of my life. And as we continue to keep going on, I'm going to still talk about some things that I've experienced as far as dealing with domestic violence. But I don't want this show to just all be about domestic violence. It just so happened I'm a survivor, and I know how important it is to heal when you've been hurt, when you've dealt with some hurt, some pain, rejection, you've dealt with being shamed or feel guilty, some embarrassment, and you've dealt with all of that. I know the effects of that, and I want to be able to help you all. Through the years, I've met so many individuals that have dealt with different forms of life traumatic experiences, and some of them are stuck in those areas. Some of them have been able to move forward past that. Now, when I use the term stuck, it's more so that the strongholds, maybe they're not aware of what that stronghold is that's holding them back. But they're in a place and they don't know how to move forward. Or maybe they think everything is okay because they've slid it up under the rug for so many years. And so they think that they have it, all together. And so they're moving forward, but they're really not moving forward. They're still stuck in those areas because different things are still maybe triggering to them. Maybe that attitude that they have is still there. They're not quite feeling like a real happy person. They're not fulfilled in their life, but they're continuing to keep going because they know we live up under that motto, you got to do what you got to do. Okay. So I want to be able to share this with you all so that we can stop living under the mask, living behind the mask, living under the false pretense that we're healed when we're really not. I want us to be able to remove the mask, to take off the weave, to take off the extensions or, the braids or whatever it is that we as women put on us in order for us to hide behind that, the makeup, the different designer clothing, all of these different things going to get Botox and all of what we're doing in order to do the outer appearance. But what about the inner side of us? What about that inner little girl that's inside of us that really wants to get out, that really needs to get out, but she's not healed yet? And so we keep her inside, but we put everything else on the outside. I want to be able to help you guys so that we're no longer doing that. So let's talk about what is trauma. What is something that we may need to heal from? So trauma is a psychological response to an event that negatively impacts a person. Trauma can be a result of violence, the death of a loved one, natural disaster, criminal activity, domestic or sexual violence. It can also be in terms of like an accident that would happen to a person and cause them to lose, maybe get injured from that accident, or a disease or something that would interfere with that person's life, that healthy side of that person, and would cause them to have to make some major changes in their lives. So when we deal with trauma, it's not always expected. It's something that isn't expected and it just happens, or it wouldn't be called trauma. It's not anything that you can prepare for. It's also something that could be repetitive. So if someone has dealt with like a rape and they've gotten raped more than once from this individual, or they could be getting raped in their relationship, those things happen too. So it can also be something that we may not be able to prevent, like a natural disaster. It can also be something that is done to us with a cruel intent from the individual that is committing that. It can also be something that has happened to us as a child abuse. So trauma can be in all different forms. So what I want to share with you all on my show is how can we heal past this and be able to live a happy, healthy life. So what I want to do is I'm going to bring experts onto my show that are expert in what they do. And I want them to be able to share with us so freely so that we can get the information that we need so we can move forward and be able to have these happy, healthy, and fulfilling lives. Not just the life, but I want you to live a happy, healthy, fulfilling lifestyle. How about that? Not just that we're just looking for a life, to have our life to be different. And I know I'm getting a little jumbled in what I'm saying, but I think you know what I'm talking about. I want us to be healed. And I know I can't do this by myself. So I have to bring in other individuals that I know that have that expertise in those areas. We're going to talk to psychologists. We're going to talk to life coaches that deal with healing, in terms of with their patients. We're also going to talk about how important it is to heal and what are the effects of if you don't get healed, how that can affect a person's life too, in all areas of your life. We all need to heal from something. We may think we don't because we feel like we got it all together. It happened years ago. Girl, I'm still not on that. This is something that happened years ago. These are some of the things that we may say to ourselves, but inside, we're saying it outside too. to other people, but inside we're probably still hurting from some of those things. And I know that's where I was in that place too, and I had to learn how to be able to, number one, to identify, to admit to I was dealing with some hurt and pain, and then that I needed the help. So I want to be able to help you all. For me, I've dealt with a lot of individuals over the years. I'm actually an advocate, a certified advocate for domestic and sexual violence. I'm also a life recovery coach. I have also gone through some training to where now I'm an actual awareness or motivational speaker. I also have my own organization that's called Right Connections and Recovery, where I help individuals that have dealt with domestic and sexual violence, and they're looking to be able to move forward, to get out of that relationship and to never go back. And so I help give in terms of resources to these individuals. I also help them find resources. If there's something that they need that I don't provide, I help individuals to find this in order for them to get out, to stay out, and to rebuild their lives. And so I wanted to share this with you all and hope that you all will follow through with me through my videos. And if whatever comments you have, we welcome that as well. Greatly appreciate that. I love the dialogue back and forth. And so as time goes on, I know my videos right now, because I'm new, you're not able to comment where I can actually see it, but I promise you, whatever comment that you put down in the comment section, I will comment on that on my next video. So I thank you guys for joining in today and for continuing on with me. We're just going to continue talking about strongholds, talking about healing. We're going to talk about triggers. As I said, we're going to have guests that are going to be on. So on my next video, we're going to talk about what does healing look like. So we've already talked about trauma, but then we're going to talk about what does healing look like. Okay. So after that, healing looks different for everybody. And then after that, we're also going to break it down and talk about the different forms of trauma that could happen to a person's life. So stay tuned and look out for these different videos that we're going to talk about. As I said, we're going to have people on. You're not just going to listen to me all the time, but I've done a lot of research, and every topic that I talk to you all about, I have a lot of great information to share with you all, and I want to be able to do this. You can also follow me on Facebook, because every Tuesday I talk about domestic and sexual violence on my Tuesday show on Facebook. It's at 6 p.m. And then on Fridays I talk about healing. I've been doing this now for almost 2 years, and so I wanted to bring this to YouTube so that I can talk to you guys about it as well. And so please follow me on Facebook as well. It's Jackie, JCKE Wilson 33. And you can follow me on Facebook. And then also I'll be on here doing these videos as well. So please like and share, subscribe, I want to say, to my YouTube page. Excuse me. I'm still learning, guys. Bear with me, okay? I promise you my videos will get better as we go along. But please like and also subscribe to my video, so that way you can continue to keep seeing me. You can continue to keep getting the content that I have to share with you all. Trust me when I tell you, I have so much content that I want to share with you all about how to heal, and in terms of different forms of life traumatic experiences that we may encounter. Okay. And thank you again for joining in today. So I want to leave this quote with you guys, and I want you all to marinate on this and let this be something that you continue to say as well. Let's work on being transparent and unashamed in our lives, so that we can be the greatest version that we are, which I believe is the champion that is within us. So please join in on my next video on my show, Let's Heal Together. Thank you very much. I'm Jackie Wilson. You have a great day. Bye-bye. Be empowered.